John, I'm going to come to you for the last question. And this is a question we're asking everyone on this series. How does behavioural science help improve the workplace?
Well, thank you, David. And obviously that's very near and dear to my heart. If we define behavioral science as kind of the scholarly work, so to speak, the work that I did as a professor pretty much for my whole career, the primary work of my colleagues. And I think we see elements of this already. It turns out that there's a significant literature on the idea of work crafting. Now, that literature is written from a world where people had jobs, and it was looking at the crafting they did inside those jobs. We have one chapter I've written for my colleague Benjamin Schneider was about engagement and the literature on engagement. There's decades and decades of literature on job engagement, job satisfaction, etc. The behavioral science world could begin to think about task or project engagement. And how would that look if we could take apart the job and say, oh, these parts really motivate you. These parts really frustrate you, rather than just one measure of the whole job. So I think if you start with the idea of work elements, and then you start perhaps with the idea of a work ecosystem that's beyond employment, there are lots of behavioral science questions that could be reframed to take past work where we know a lot of things about motivation and engagement, etc., and reframe them to reflect perhaps the atomized elements. One example is, I hope people will contact me if they want to get involved. My colleague Ben Schneider and I have developed an instrument based on his work on work automation engagement, work automation climate. And the idea there is to get a sense of whether the workers are prepared and trust the organization to do work automation in a way that they can engage with. Or on the other hand, do they feel threatened? So you can see, for me, I'm finding it's very helpful to me to look at work that's already been done, but that was understandably developed with the idea of a job and employment as the focus in behavioral science, and ask ourselves, could behavioral science take that and, in a sense, deconstruct it or apply it to deconstruction to fit the new work operating system?
In this series, we will be speaking to a range of senior leaders who are pushing a data-driven and digital HR agenda. Make sure that you subscribe via your podcast app of choice and also via our YouTube channel for free and regular interviews with the digital HR leaders of the future.